Hi, welcome to the Mohua Show. My name is Mohua Chinappa and I am an author, entrepreneur, and ex-housewife. This podcast is about everything from business to technology to arts to lifestyle, but done and spoken ईमानदारी से. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Trevor, who likes to be called as Treasure and prefers no titles. He's a certified cuddle therapist with Cuddle Professionals International based in Bristol, UK. He is the founder of Embrace Connections, through which he aims to help people connect better, lead a better life. He's very passionate about connection, learning, and play, and believes that relationships and communications are very important, and it's worth investing your time and energy on improving them to improve the quality of your life. So I completely agree with you, Trevor. Welcome in today's episode. But just to begin with, do you think that, the modern way of life, and especially the pandemic, has made people more lonelier than before? And, the importance of human connections is coming to the fore more from, than earlier. What are your opinions about this?
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think that everybody listening to your show can relate as well. It's been a long, tough couple of years and a long, tough life, really, for some. It feels like society is pushing us apart towards individualism, towards reliance on technology instead of human connection. So there are bright spots of beautiful connection that people can have and can enjoy. Some people have access to lots of these and enjoy them very much, and others have less access, and it's very detrimental to their quality of life. And I think it's something that we all need to strive towards improving within our own lives and reaching out towards other people and helping them have it in theirs.
So, Trevor, you know what? I'm very tempted to ask this question because was it something that was personal in your life that made you choose something so unique? I mean, most people are pursuing professions that are different, and day by day, I'm beginning to understand, with life experiences, that human connections are the only thing that really keeps our emotional health completely healthy, So, what prompted you to get into a space like this?
It's a great question. I have one of my greatest passions is human connection, especially through movement and touch-based practices. So one of my favorite hobbies and passions is partner dance. I used to go a lot more, and since the pandemic, maybe a little less, but I used to go all the time to dance weekends and workshops, and I had a beautiful community of friends with whom I would. And this is a partner dance, so it's social dancing, and it's a way to connect very, very nicely with lots of different people in a very intimate but and soulful way. And I had some moments of just. I feel like I fell in love on the dance floor, even just for the duration of a song, maybe without even knowing the other person's name yet. And not really knowing anything about them. So I think it's so powerful to be able to connect with people through touch. I was working in a corporate job up until the end of last year, but it wasn't really how I wanted to make my mark on the world. It's not the impact I wanted to have. And I recognized that I have quite a lot of ability and skill in these movement practices, in holding space for people and making them feel comfortable and explaining the concepts behind it. So I thought, this is very important. It's something I can do well. It's something I love. Let's give it a try.
So what happens, Trevor, when, if you have a relationship? I mean, how do you draw the boundaries with people? Because lonely people would seek so much more if they feel comfortable with you. Where do you draw the boundary?
It's not so hard to be clear with boundaries with people. I'm very communicative about my boundaries and my expectations within sessions, but also just in my life in general. So I'm already very comfortable with having these conversations. For example, personally, I have these dance connections, which are non-sexual, but they are very physically intimate. And I do lots of other things with lots of other people where we're physically close, but there is no confusion about where the boundary lies. And then in this environment, it's a professional environment, and we begin every session with a very clear rundown of the rules and expectations and how we communicate and how we express our desires and boundaries. So it's all on the table. It's all up front, and as a result, even if something sort of emerges in the session, there's a feeling or a sensation or a physical reaction, which are all natural human responses. We're just organic beings. We know how to deal with it, and we can handle it in a way that still feels comfortable and not too awkward.
So please narrate with us, because we are in India, and this is so much more. We are still striving to talk more openly about sexuality and talk about feelings, human touch. Of course, the conversation has begun, in India, and we are not too far away when professions like this would be, people would talk openly about it. But you said that when you are with someone and there can be a situation, how do you deal with a situation like that?
Yeah, I would say that also in the UK where I'm based, the conversation is still starting. It's still developing, and it's not a universal acceptance of. Not everybody is as free and open and comfortable and confident as I am talking about these things, which is a part of what I want to bring as well. I want to help people learn to have these conversations more and feel more comfortable with them. What I have found and what other people find is that actually having the conversation is less uncomfortable than not having the conversation and leaving it unspoken and leaving these uncertainties up in the air. So the very first thing that we have to do, that I do, is to recognize the situation. Just be upfront about it. Just observe. Look, I'm feeling this, or look, are you feeling this, or I noticed this about the situation. Confirm that is actually happening. There is actually something there, and then just being clear about what should happen next. So sometimes you don't even need to bring it up. You can just sort of take a quick break or make an adjustment, and you don't even need to do anything very explicitly. But other times it might be worth just recognizing it and deciding to put it aside and moving on.
So it's really interesting, Trevor, because you know what, when we've all along been, we've been taught about love, and we've been taught about one partner, one human being, and so any sort of physical intimacy, whether it is dance and cuddling, of course, as a therapy, is it can get very, very sticky with a partner who is, maybe possessive about you. Have you ever been in a situation like this where you needed to explain that this was your job, and that it wasn't something that where you would cross the boundaries? Or are you a person who believes that it should go beyond the confines of one person, and the other person falling in love with each other as a couple, and one does not trespass that, if you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack in that question. A lot to unpack, really. So first of all, I think that there are many different kinds of love, and not just I believe, but historically, and also just culturally, you can see that the love that a parent feels for their child, and that friends feel for each other, and that lovers feel for each other in the throes of passion, versus an old married couple feels for each other after being together for many years. We use love in all these contexts, but they're kind of different, and so I think it is clear that two people can feel affection for one another, and we have dancing, we have sports, we have just gentle affection that friends can have for one another. All of these activities exist already. I think it's very easy to make associations, but it's also just as easy to change the narrative and make different associations and accept them on their own merit, in a way that's not tied to some very specific views about relationships and physical intimacy. I think so to answer your question specifically, I hold, I would say, fairly liberal views about love and intimacy, especially compared to the conservative narrative that you're talking about. but I think, yeah, I think generally views are changing, and I also think that many people would be happy to open up their views a little bit, because they could benefit a lot from releasing themselves from the expectations of those very conservative views.
Oh, I completely agree with you, Trevor, because I'm myself of a very liberal. I would like to believe the more I'm growing older, I'm beginning to realize that, being conservative only stops you from experiencing the world in its multiple splendor. And but it's a very long journey. It isn't easy, and it's a reconciliation with your own self as a human being. How did your family react, Trevor, when you told them that you were planning to do, did you have any situation where you needed to explain to your parents about the work that you're going to do?
I've spoken with my parents about it. They're excited that I'm starting my own business, and I'm delivering a service which is very aligned with my passion. I think initially, my father especially was the most skeptical about whether it was a financially viable decision. Um, so he wanted to see more evidence that this could be a real career. And I think I've shown that it's possible to do this work. And also, I have some growth plans and ideas that he's pretty excited about seeing. So he's on board. He's very proud of me now. I also want to add that I do cuddle therapy, but I also do other work that's in the similar space of helping people learn to connect and relate and communicate. And it's all using movement and touch-based practices. So I have this thing which I call connections coaching, which helps people work through their insecurities or their blockages or their expectations about specific relationships. And we're talking romantic relationships, friendships, families, colleagues, coworkers. All the issues that you have with the people in your life, they're rooted in something in you and the story that you're telling yourself. And what I found is that you can work through these very effectively in a partnered movement environment, because when you're confronted with another person's body and their expectations and the way they move and the way they react, then your issue is front and center. You can't run away from it, and so it's very easy to work on. So it's a broader picture, I would say, and I can offer that to individuals, couples. I can offer that to teams in businesses. I can do workshops. So there's quite a broad range of the sorts of things that I'm doing, and yeah, I think my family's really excited to see all the things that I can do to help change the world.
How amazing is that? But now I just have one more question, Trevor. So, do you think looks matter, being in the work of, the embrace and the cuddling therapy that you talk about, which I sincerely believe that without human touch, one is not healthy. But do you think looks, being fit, all these things are parameters subconsciously in a client's mind when they come to you?
Yes, I do. It would be nice for it not to be the case, but I think the reality is that it does matter. It also matters when you're just buying a cupcake from a bakery. If you're attracted to the seller, you're gonna buy more and be more interested going to the shop at all. I think in this industry, it matters perhaps even more. Yeah. So the short answer is yes, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's the way of the world.
Wonderful, Trevor. So that was that was the list of questions that I could think of. And I mean, I can't even wait for you to come into India and start a beautiful workshop like this, because I think with the pandemic, the divorce rates have gone up, and a lot of people found themselves alone, confined within their own spaces. And I think also with so much of social media all around us, we've all become great friends with our phones. And it's so difficult for us to really go out there and make friends. Of course, I come from a very different era where we had no mobile phones, and we met friends and we played, and physical touch was and physically meeting friends was way more enriching than just being on the phone. But we are all victims of technology, of growth, of progress, and we're also victims and we're also benefiting. So, keep up the good work, Trevor. And I just before I end, I'd really like to quote. There is this wonderful quote by Bobby Fischer that says, "Nothing eases suffering like human touch." And I'm such a believer of this, that when I'm really weary and tired and my mother puts her hand on my head, or I meet my son and I give him that hug that I received from him, which is, which makes me feel so light in my being. So I think what you're doing is phenomenal. And I wish you lots and lots of luck. And I hope there are many more people who will follow your footsteps, because I think we also live in a world where they need to see financial stability. And if with your work you can prove that, and you said you already are, I think a lot of people will follow your footsteps. And we can't wait to have you in India, Trevor. And good luck, and thank you for being on today's podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your kind words.
To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services: Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course on all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are The Mohua Show, where we talk ईमानदारी से.